He visited the dilapidated remains of the dorms with several of his friends late one night. They were no strangers to exploring abandoned buildings, and although excited, they still didn't expect much to be different about this particular group of buildings. But as they walked down the hall on the 4th floor of one building, he noticed something odd. The hall appeared to be much longer than it looked, and behind him he could hear what sounded like a woman crying. He turned around, thinking it might be one of his friends, but nobody was there. All his friends were walking in front of him. As they kept walking, the sound of someone crying got louder and louder, until finally it was right by his ear. Terrified, he screamed and took off down the hall as fast as his feet would carry him. But the faster he ran, the longer the hall seemed to become, almost like it was endless. His friends, confused, followed him, but no matter how fast or slow they ran, the hall continued to spread out in front of them, no end in sight. It wasn't until they spotted some stairs that they turned and took those instead. Finally, they were able to leave the building, and they swore never to go back there again. Although the exact date remains unknown, the Usui girls' dormitory was constructed sometime in the late 1960s or early 1970s. Found on Prefectural Road 6 in Koriyama City, Fukushima Prefecture, this group of buildings was constructed for the female workers of the Usui department store, located not too far away in the heart of the city. Consisting of 4 buildings, with 2 wings each, the grounds also housed a gymnasium as well, and at its height, it's said that over 100 women lived here. However, in 1987, the dorms closed for good. It's unknown why, but the most likely reason is that they simply weren't necessary anymore. And so, the buildings fell into disrepair after being abandoned. But, if you believed the rumours that sprang up, these dorms weren't abandoned simply because they weren't necessary anymore. No, they were abandoned because a woman died there. Now, depending on the version you want to believe, the reason this woman died differs. According to one story, a woman in her early 20s who lived in these dorms in the late 1970s was having relationship troubles. In the end, she jumped to her death from the 4th floor. She had reportedly only recently moved into the dorms, coming from the countryside so she could start working at the Usui department store. However, an affair with a male colleague quickly turned sour, and although she left no note behind, they found her body lying on the ground the next morning. According to the rumours, police ruled the death self-inflicted, and that was that. But others claimed that her spirit lingered around the dorms after that, leading to their eventual closure. However, another story claims that the woman was actually killed. This version, again taking place in the late 1970s, cites that women living in the dorms at the time actually had cliques, and 2 women from opposing cliques butted heads over something or another. Where one came from, where one worked, how rich or poor one was. It was all open to harassment and bullying. And one night, after getting into yet another fight, one woman was unable to take it anymore and pushed the other woman down the stairs. She died. Officially, however, there was not enough evidence to prove the woman was killed, and so the police chalked it up to an unfortunate accident. But then, rumours quickly spread that it was actually murder, and the woman who pushed her soon moved out. Because this woman never faced any consequences for her crime, the wronged woman's spirit remained in the building, haunting it forever after. Of course, neither of these stories has been substantiated, and any people who may have been around at the time have long moved on, or even passed away themselves. But thanks to the internet, the stories remain today, and people are certain that, regardless of the reason, the spirit of a woman haunts the remains of those buildings to this day. Perhaps the most famous sightings of the woman take place behind the dark windows at night. Numerous visitors have reported a woman who appears to be in her early 20s with shoulder-length hair peering back at them from one of the many windows. Sometimes she even gestures at them, but most of the time she simply stares, like she has been watching them all along. If you are brave enough to go inside, visitors report seeing her face suddenly appear in broken mirrors left inside the building as well. Of course, if you turn around, nobody will be there. But those who have managed to see this woman up close report that she looks terribly upset. She is dead, after all. But rather than angry, she mostly appears despondent. Perhaps even accepting of her current fate. She also wears her shoulder-length hair in a style reminiscent of the 70s, and her Western-style clothing is said to have been popular during that era as well. Interestingly, despite what happened to her, nobody has reported any harm upon seeing or encountering her. You won't die in an accident on your way home. She won't push you down the stairs or throw you over the railing herself. She simply appears to be upset, and perhaps wishing she could finally move on. Another interesting story related to the woman claims that her appearance is often marked by dim lighting. She doesn't simply appear in the pitch black of the building, but rather she'll be accompanied by a soft glow, as though electricity has suddenly found its way back into the building and is working for her, and her alone. This cool lighting is also accompanied by a drop in temperature, so cold that it causes shivers even on the hottest of summer nights. If you want to save on air conditioning costs, then maybe head towards the dorms between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., the most common times she's said to appear. Perhaps fitting of her somber appearance, another common supernatural phenomenon people claim to experience at the dorms is the sound of a woman crying. This is especially clear on windy nights, with her sobs able to be heard all the way out on the main road. However, it's most common to encounter this on rainy nights, creating a horrifying, melancholy cacophony of sounds. You might also catch a woman humming popular tunes from the 1970s. This seems to be most common on the roof, and again, the sound is more sad than happy. But if you don't hear either the woman's cries or humming, then perhaps you might hear her footsteps. And unsurprisingly, these are most common near the stairs where it's said she died. Again, these sounds do not appear to cause harm, but they certainly do terrify any who hear them. In modern times, an interesting new rumour has also developed with the rise and progress of certain technologies. It's said that if you approach the buildings to take photos with your phone, then a flash of red text will suddenly appear on your screen, saying, "Dame," or "No." This appears regardless of phone type, and is said to always appear in bright red letters for several seconds before disappearing. It would appear the woman inside doesn't want people taking pictures of her, and Certainly not from the safety of the road outside. By the same token, other people have reported the streetlights themselves suddenly turning off upon approaching the building. Again, like the building is telling them to stay away. This strange event doesn't appear to affect everybody, however, and one person in a group may notice the lights have gone out, while another person still sees them on. A curious phenomenon indeed. In 2013, one of the buildings was finally demolished, but for reasons unknown, the others were left standing and the demolition works were halted. Naturally, rumours spread that the workers were complaining of the spirit of the woman appearing and haunting them, and machinery not working as it should. Regardless of the reasons why, demolition was suspended, and to this day, the other buildings still remain. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other haunted locations you'd like me to explore? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys again next time.